Good day, and welcome to the Budding Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Bridges. In each episode, I cover my experiences, both good and bad, of being a business builder, as well as my journey through the crazy world of entrepreneurship to reach my goal of earning $10 million a year. So we're on episode 101 right now, which makes me feel good. We've hit that 3-digit episode number, and I'm like, yes, there we go. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We're going to change the format slightly because I think that it's important to do, two sides of an idea, not just one. And so we're going to take a different kind of attack. Last week we did on episode 100, streamlining a business. Now, if you haven't listen to it, it's actually a very good podcast. I felt really happy with it because so much of this material I got great feedback on. And I was like, hey, that's good. But essentially, we talked about the dimensions of a business that you can affect. There are 4 of them. There's the width of your business, which is the number of commitments you make. The height of your business, which is the number of layers that are built in. The depth is the complexity of your business. That's where an incredible amount of money is spent. And then time. Time is infinitely expensive. The more people that you have involved in something, the more expensive it becomes. So whereas width is like $1 sign, height is 2, and depth is 4. Time is infinite. That was a big deal. So we talked about that last week and considered how we might be able to simplify our business. This week, I'm going to talk a little bit about the wealthy consultant and the things that I'm going through right now. Now, I'm in module 5 of 7. This is where things really slow down. There's a lot of pieces to this. You're introducing a lot of new concepts. And they call it launch mode at this module, but I'm calling it growth mode because I think it's really nice to have something that is unique that you don't deal with every day. But it is unfamiliar territory. I have to be really honest and say there's much of what we're covering that I'm not comfortable with. And that's where the best growth comes in. Is you start embracing things, what they call getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I've used that phrase before, but this is where the real growth comes in. When you're doing something you don't know how to do, and you just have to have faith that you know how to get it done. Maybe you get it done differently today than you would do next time, but it is still unfamiliar territory to you. And for me, I'm good at writing, and I've become good at doing my podcasting. I mean, if anybody's seen my whiteboard fantasy, pictures and what have you, you notice it's just a basic outline. I talk to the outline. I don't necessarily talk to writing it all down. I used to. I mean, when I first started, I had to put my ideas together. Now my ideas are more, they coalesce more into the category of what I'm looking for. And so I can just write down a single word or two, and it is an easy transition for me to expound upon that. But some of the things that are a challenge for me now are communication. When you start communicating to people and you get out into the market, because that's what launching starts with, you have to have simple ideas and good communication. If you can't explain it simply, you can't explain it. It's impossible for you to be able to take something you can't simply explain and get it across to anybody. So communication is a big deal. I'm having to, even though words are simple for me, I'm having to really think about what it is that I want to say in the written word. and I kind of plan out my pieces. My blog is getting a lot of material from this podcast. And then from the blog, I then take and break it down even further, and I can actually do a simple post out on Facebook or Alignable or whatever. And the idea is that as you're doing this, you're creating a situation where you can not only do your expertise, but you can also get market feedback. Is it a good idea? Well, it's easy to tell if nobody cares about it. If you send somebody over to a page, they're there for 2 seconds and then they don't actually convert, they don't interact, and they don't do anything, there might be some problems with that. And your market research is going to help talk you through that process. The other thing that's happening at this point is my offer is in transition. Some of the things I've been reading have gotten me into a different mode. And simplifying, if you've gone back a few times on my podcast, you'll know that I had multiple programs. And I had them at different levels and different pricing and different curriculum and things like this. And what I came back to is just do one, do it well, and get the feedback on that marketing idea, on that market idea, and see where it goes. Because you're going to have to start making minor course corrections. This is an analogy I use for a lot of my clients is similar to sailing. There are tailwinds that move you forward almost effortlessly. You use a lot less. If you're using fuel, you're using a lot less of it. This applies to an airplane as well. Then there are headwinds, and this is where we spend most of our time in business dealing with, is the wind is coming at us from the front. It's going to slow us down. And the way we deal with that is we have to make minor course corrections and just to go a little bit one direction and let the wind adjust the sails if you're shipping, or use the rudders and the flaps to angle you so that you're not fighting straight in. You're going to go around something and then eventually keep moving back. Once the headwinds have gone from you, you're going to get to a point where those things now are no longer beating you right in the face. You want to be careful. You don't want to do a 90-degree turn because that wind will grab your sail and flip your boat over. That's the thing you've got to be careful about. And the third thing of doing all this is there are rocks in the water. Hazards is what you often hear it. Sailing too close to the shore and you run aground. You hit a sandbar that you can't see. There are rocks that are underwater that you didn't know were there. And all of a sudden you've ripped off part of your boat or got a hole in it. And now you've got a real problem. You don't want to sink, so you have to start bailing very quickly. And so these three things are typical in a business: the tailwinds, the headwinds, and then the hazards. And we don't spend a lot of time dealing with hazards. They come at us, we just simply can't see them. Maybe you forgot to fill out a form and suddenly you're contacted by the state that says that your corporation or your entity is no longer, accepted as a business. And you've got to make some quick decisions on how you're going to do that. Otherwise, your boat is going to just sink, right? So essentially, we're doing something at this point. We're looking for converting our offer from a 1.0 offer, where we get all of the headwinds and all the problems and all the things that come at us. We can steer and adjust minorly. And the goal is to get enough market feedback to take our offer from 1.0 in minor course corrections to 1.1 to 1.2, all the way to 2.0. And we may end up going to 3.0. But the idea is we want to try to launch 2.0. And that's where we are in this program is, getting to that point where we're going to start getting enough information from everybody else to tell us where to go, to tell us what changes to make. Because if we're guessing, no guessing. You don't want to be guessing when you're doing your business. You want to find a way to keep iterating until you get minor changes that allow you to make large changes and move your market and then launch your 2.0 package. So that's where I am in the program. Now, this part of things, as I said, it's growth mode. This is personal growth. And it is very uncomfortable. I'm great with doing things like, the streamlining a business. I do that all day long. My clients love it. It's different when you're growing the business. You want to be careful that you don't break the business, and that's why you have to make these small course corrections. Now, that's the kind of the review of where Randy is right now. And I wanted to kind of mention now the things that I'm reading and give some concepts on it. One of the things that I've followed for a long time is the writings of Dan Sullivan and his material. And he had Who Not How, which is a major toolkit for any business owner to be able to expand your businesses. I don't want to spend my time learning how to do it. I want to spend my time finding somebody else that can do it for me and then pay them and make it make sense. So he has another book out that is actually restructured my idea of what I'm offering. And it's called 10X is easier than 2X. And what he says is that there's a difference between going for something that's safe, a 2X idea. And he's talking generically here, right? We're assigning a term, not necessarily really 2X. And then there's 10X, which is so big and so gargantuan, what some people call the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal, right? Grant Cardone has his 10X concept, and it's all the same kind of concept here, is you're just going to put massive action in place, and you're going to have a very limited number of challenges. The bigger you get, the fewer people you're going to be competing against. But the problem is the ones that you are competing against are now going to be more stable, more business oriented. They've got maybe more energy than you do. And energy is really time, right? It's this conversion factor. So the 10X is easier than 2X. Essentially, 2X is I'm just going to do growth. I'm just going to grow a little bit. It's safe, right? And safe is what so many people do. I've not been a fan of safe, ever. Safe limits not just what you face, safe limits what you get. And so this whole concept of 10X is easier than 2X is just like, to me, yes, this is what I'm looking for. So I've converted my offer closer to 2X or to 2.0 by taking a 10X concept and launching one single idea, not a whole bunch, just one, and then perfecting that idea. So 10X is easier than 2X. Dan Sullivan is the author. And the other one that I'm rereading now is Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards. And I've been doing a lot of advertising, some for myself, mostly for my clients. And the Copywriting Secrets is a simple book, simple process, simple step-by-step set of secrets that it will put you on a path as a copywriter, not just a business owner. it gives you the ability to think about your content from the point of view of the person that's reading it. So when we're talking about our business, we can be simple, we can be clear, but more important, we can be engaging the other person to look at us. And this goes hand in hand with what I'm going through in the program, is that outreach to gain eyeballs. And what I thought initially was that this whole thinking was kind of useless. And I've tried it before and I got nothing. But I think more than anything else, the problem with it was that my execution was poor. It's like anything else. If you only do it for 5 minutes and you say it doesn't work, who knows? Maybe it did and you just needed to do it for 6 or maybe 10 or 20, right? Podcasting is just one way of getting your voice out there, metaphorically speaking, not, but it's taking these ideas and simplicity and putting them in play. And with copywriting secrets, it makes you think about it from the person on the other side of the words. They're reading it, they're hearing it, they're seeing it. They're in your seat, right where you are now. That puts you right there, and it makes you think about that. And so we as business owners have to realize that the wording that we're using is our biggest toolkit that we can use on a regular basis. And all the thinking that we do and the critical analysis and all of the pieces that we're doing, getting our market research and everything, is all feedback to those words. So this is a great book for helping you think about these secrets, giving you ideas. It's not a major expense. You can actually order it off of Jim's website, and it's a free plus shipping. I think it's $7.95 for the shipping to the United States. And it's a great book, and it's great as reference if you're just starting to write what you're doing. Yeah, definitely, the Copywriting Secrets book is going to be helpful. 10X is easier than 2X, Dan Sullivan. And, there's other material, of course, that I'm reading, but these are the mainstays that I've put on my goals list to read or reread by the end of this month. And so I have about 8 more days to complete it. And that's a great thing. I will have completed these. That's something that I never did before, is actually set preliminary goals of I'm going to accomplish this month. And, a lot of people say, well, talk about your goals in terms of weeks. Yes, I have weekly goals, but you have to start with monthly goals first and break those down into I can achieve this in a week and this in a week and this in a week. And that'll get me to where I'm going this month. And so then you can take that and translate that into not just what I'm doing this month, but what I'm doing this quarter or what am I going to achieve by next month. And then once you've got it up to a quarter, now in this half of the year, I'm going to achieve this, or by the end of this year. And you can go both directions. You can start small if that's all you can focus on now. Start small. Just set the goals of what you're going to achieve this week. And then build up to this month, this quarter, this year. Or if you are more of a big thinker kind of person, start with what you're going to achieve in 3 years, not 5, 3. You've got to think in terms of something you can actually consider and look at that 3 years. All right, now what am I going to need to do in years 1 and 2 to achieve that by year 3? And then what do I need to do this quarter to achieve that at the end of the year? And then what do I need to do to achieve that in this month? And break it down into this week. Getting down to the day is usually for most people too granular. So if you're trying to do one of these two paths and it just seems like it's just too much, be willing to stretch out your goal window. Okay? So that's the episode today. I really appreciate your time. I wish you the best in your health, your wealth, your business, everything about you. Take care and have a great week. We'll see you back next week with a brand new topic.